friends, it's Nancy, and welcome to the first video of this series where we're going to, from start to finish, turn a vintage book into a beautiful journal. Yesterday I showed you a couple of examples of books to use, so hopefully you've got your book in front of you now. It doesn't have to be a vintage book, just something small. So this one is 4.5 by 6 3/4 ish, and it has a spine that is just an inch. So the first thing we're going to do is work on the cover, which means we have to take the text block out. Now sometimes you're lucky and it'll just pop right out, and you don't have to put any sharp blades on it. But if you do have to put sharp blades on it, be super careful, because you don't want to cut through the spine, the fabric spine. This one's coming right apart. The end papers and everything come right out, which is okay. If you are in southwestern Ontario, today is February the 27th. Yeah, it's 27th. Goodwill in southwestern region has green and yellow tag items half price. So maybe you could slip over there and find a book that's gonna work for your project if you don't have one right now. Even a children's book might be good. And again, it doesn't have to be vintage. I just happen to have vintage because that's what I like. And I don't mind paying up a bit for a vintage book. I think in my last video I said I paid $1 for this one. Somebody clearly got it at, a secondhand store for $3 at some point. But sometimes, well, for example, there was a book I bought yesterday that was, it was marked 1995, but she sold it to me for $15. I didn't even ask. She said, about $15, no tax. And I said, that sounds great. Okay, so I picked off all of the paper that is going to come off. I will throw this out. I do not need this. Okay. So this has got a really nice curved back already, but that sort of defeats the purpose of me showing you how I do this. So I am going to remove, apparently I'm not going to remove. Should we grab a different book? Yeah. Okay, let's grab a different book. We'll use this one. And again, it's pretty raggedy, so it can come out. Now, this looks more like what I'm used to seeing in an old book, is something that looks like that. I'm just going to see how much of this I can peel off. Okay. The first thing I want to do is give this a clean. So some of this is not going to come clean, but I have a white art eraser that I can use and see if that takes off some of the grime. You want to be careful because the print can come off, and you don't want to take that off. And be careful when you have raggedy edges like that. So we're looking for the obvious dirt. I wouldn't use any liquid on this. Yeah, I mean, you could use a baby wipe, you know, but I wouldn't use a full-on scrub brush. Okay, that's probably as good as it's going to get. Now, the corners are a little soft, but not to the degree that I'm overly concerned about it. Sometimes the corners can be like blossomed. So what I would do in that case is get out my art glitter glue and go in and put a few dots of glue between the layers of paper, and then grab a little clip and put a clip on like that, and that will adhere the blossomed layers of the chipboard together. But this one's not too bad. I will grab a baby wipe if I can find them. Where the heck are my baby wipes? Well, this is just crazy. Just crazy. Okay. There they are. So there's still some aged dirt under there. But we're going to seal this with Mod Podge so that the dirt's not as offensive. Now, if you need to do some color correction, or if you want to add ink to the edges, if you don't have a vintage book but you want to make it look vintage, you can go ahead and do that now. But I'm not going to add any ink to this at this point. A couple of bubbles under here. There is not any way that I'm going to be able to fix that in a serious way, so I'm not going to think about it. I'll just ignore it. Okay. I'm going to move on to the next piece. So I want to take a ruler and measure how tall this spine is. And you know what would be really helpful is if I had a little notebook beside me and I could write these things down. So the spine is 7 3/8. It's actually 7 7/16, but now I don't want to measure the width of the spine. I want to measure the width of this paper that we took out of the spine, the card, or what was card. Now it's dried up leaves. This is just shy of an inch, so I'm happy calling it an inch. So now we're going to do some cutting of a file folder. This is going to be fine. My computer just shut off. I hate it when it does that. So I want to cut 2 pieces that are 1 inch wide and not 7 7/16, I'm going to take about 1/8 of an inch off that, more or less. So we're going to call it 7 5/16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. This is just a scrap of a file folder. We don't need a lot. As I said, right now we're looking for 2 pieces that are 1 inch wide. Now, you can cut that with your cutter. I like to use a knife, and this is a quilting ruler. So this is from Olfa. You can get these at quilt stores, sewing stores, and Michael's, I know for sure, has them. And always good for a coupon. So I use an Olfa knife too, actually. Alrighty, so now I'm going to cut 2 pieces 1 inch wide. Okay. Now, and the next fancy bit have to take some pantyhose off a different rolling pin. You can find rolling pins at thrift stores, and that's what I like to use for my curved back spine. So this is a spine that I made, I believe, with actually 3 layers of file folder, because the book has really heavy covers. So that's for that, a different book. But that's how it's going to look when it's done. So if you have a piece of doweling, sometimes I have this giant pencil, like a souvenir from the California redwoods. I've used this to make spines, to make curved spines. So using your fabric glue or another wet glue, one that's going to give you some time, put a good amount, I was going to say put a lot of glue on, but maybe this, you don't consider this a lot of glue, maybe this is just normal glue. And you want it on edge to edge. All right. Now I'm going to put the second piece on top. Make sure they're matching up. Just taking off any of the oozy. Okay, while it's still wet, you want to get it, I'm going to use the pencil. I haven't used my pencil for a long time. You want to get it on there, okay? And to make sure it's straight, I will use a rubber band, and hopefully I didn't knock the camera when I did that. Because if you try to put the pantyhose on this without it being straight, it'll start to spin around the rolling pin or the ginormous pencil, and you'll have a crooked spine. So that's the first thing I want to do. Make sure that's nice and straight. Okay. Look how stretched out these knee highs are. So I just tightly wrap pantyhose, or in my case, I'm using knee highs. And I'm just tightly wrapping it around. Now this is a trick I learned from my crafty crush Catherine over at Sunnyside Journals. She did tell me who she learned it for, but I'm afraid I can't remember, so I can't give credit where credit is due. But this is definitely a technique I use every single time I make a journal, because I like hidden hollow back spines. Okay, now I don't know if you saw how I moved the rubber band off so that I could continue wrapping, but now I'm going to move it right back down. I need another one. Now when Catherine does it, she wraps one way and then wraps the other way. I haven't noticed any difference, so I just wrap it whatever way. And again, I'm going to move this rubber band. Okay, that's fine. I will leave this overnight. It doesn't mean we have to stop now. That means we have to work on something else. Now, if you are satisfied with the condition of your cover, what I'm going to suggest we do now is do some Mod Podge. I have my Mod Podge and I have a brush. I also have a spray Mod Podge, but this is fine. If I can open it. Oh, I should have shook it first, I guess. Okay. So the purpose of the Mod Podge is just to seal in the dirt where the cover is soft. For example, on these edges here, that will sort of support that fabric to not do any more fraying. So I'm just starting with the edges. But you can do this any which way you like. This is a matte sealant, so it's not going to make it shiny. Oh, let's be serious, it does make it slightly shiny. Don't want to have too thick of a layer. You want it to dry readily. And I will sometimes put some swirls in so it looks sort of like an oil painting. I'm also doing the spine. I wouldn't say that you could wipe the book down once it's got this sealant on it. I wouldn't add any water to this. But at least you know that you're not going to, your hands aren't going to get dirty, or there's no smallpox on it. It's time for a new bottle of Mod Podge, I think. All right. I think one layer is perfectly fine as long as you got full coverage going on. And I will go and clean my brush. All right. While we wait for everything to dry, we're going to take this apart. So this is the original text block, and you'll see that there's little signatures in here. So how I want to take this apart is to find where the threads go. So in this case, here's some threads. I hope you can see that okay. Now, either using a knife or a pair of little scissors, I'm just going to cut that thread. Sometimes books will have a double thread, two layers of very thin thread, so you have to make sure that you've captured both of them. And then just pull the pages out. And as you're pulling them out, take a look at them and think, do I want to use this in my book? Yes, I do. Because I like to reintroduce the actual pages from the original book into, for sure I'm going to use the title page, right? Into the new journal. Okay. So we'll find the next. Oh, this one fell apart. That's all right. I believe these kinds of books were given at Sunday school. Sometimes you can't get all the pages out because the last outside anchor page of the signature is glued to the outer page of the next signature abutting. And this isn't bad quality paper. You can see, even though it dates 1888, I'm being pretty rough with it. The Sewing Society. Oh, these are my favorites, are the pages at the back. These are so great for collage. So for sure I will save those. I'm trying to find the threads though. Did I miss it? There they are. Love that. I also like to keep any blank pages because these are great for the backs of tags and journaling cards. So I'll just set that aside. I know this part might be a little bit boring, but as I said, I want to do this entire project with you so that you can see exactly. This one only has one string. Exactly how it's done and not miss any bits as boring as they are. And you can see how long it takes to make a journal in real time. You know, nothing fast forwarded. Nothing happens very fast with me in any case. I have two speeds, slow and stop. I am going to want to tea dye some pages just so I have a variety. Not too many. Dust rising from this book makes my nose itch. Not too many, just a few pages so that I have some options in terms of collage, which is my favorite technique. Collage and fussy cuts. Yeah, man. So we won't be using the tea-dyed pages in the book. We'll just be using them to decorate the book. So there's no need to stop the process while we wait. In some newer books, you can actually count. You'll know every 4 pages you're going to have thread. So you can count 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there's the thread. But in these older books, it's harder to get a fixed number. It can be different with every signature. So these books are often religious tracts. Like I said, I believe they were prizes given at Sunday school. Okay, so this is what's left. These are the single pages that are all glued together. So I am going to just simply tear these apart. And now they're single sheets, right? All right. So I'm saving these two because I like these for collage. It has really different print, small print, different fonts. Looks great in collage. These ones, I'm going to do some prep work and glue them together using glue stick. So I like a glue stick, and I like oh my gosh, I always have like a gift card or something. Oh, I know where it is. It's on the kitchen table. Yeah, we can make do without it. So I am going to just put layers. In this one, I'm going to use 3 layers of paper just to get the kind of thickness. So I'm looking for not as thick as chipboard, but, you know, cardstocky kind of weight. Some books have really heavy pages, and 2 pages is plenty. And it also depends on what you're going to put on top. So if you're going to do another layer of collage on top, maybe you only want to do 2 layers. We can take this moment to talk about glue. I hear this from a lot of people that they have problems with glue stick. Some people swear by Oohoo glue or Yoo-hoo glue, whatever it's called. And I'm just using this ruler to make sure there's no air bubbles. I find that one really mushy. My favorite happens to be this no-name brand from Target. Some of these have really pretty images, not images, but decoration that you might want to keep either to make pages for your journal or to incorporate into some monochromatic. I'm getting glue all over the place. And again, I'm just using these single sheets up because we don't want to waste them. Doesn't matter if the edges aren't perfect because we can trim those down. And if I don't have enough to make triple layered pages, well, I fold one in half or fold one in thirds, and we could still use it for a little tag or a little tuck spot. I've got this extra cutting mat here to see if I can do better at keeping in camera view. Those guys are attacking me. If these edges are making it difficult, you can trim those off now. It's just really nice to have these bases ready to use, if not in this project, in another project. Now, you don't want to go crazy and have nothing but bases and your shelves and boxes full of nothing but glued up pages, but it really is handy to have them. They're the right color, they're the right size, and you're not letting anything go to waste, which is the best thing about junk journals, isn't it? And I just want to assure you, for this project, you can use whatever you have. There's no laws. If you like to use digitals, get out your digitals. I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible so that anybody could do this project without having a lot of extra stuff. Now see, this, I've only got 2 pages. So I'm only going to do a half page. Okay, I'll just cut this piece off and throw it into my box of collage bits. All right, collage bit box. Okay, so I'm going to pause now, tidy up, wipe off my glue, and we shall come back and get started. This is going to be the same day. We're not taking any days off. We're going to just get right back into it. But if you need to take a break, we'll stop now. All right, come back and we'll do the next part.